Hi everyone, this is Spark Operator community call on 14th of June. This meeting will be recorded and published on YouTube, and this meeting is governed by the Kubeflow Code of Conduct. Welcome everyone. So I think maybe today's call we can start with a quick introduction. Do we have anyone here on the call who just want to introduce themselves to the community? Any new people?
Yeah, hi, I'm Damon. Work at Airbnb. We're exploring Spark Operator a little bit, so just wanted to hop on and say hi and see how things are going.
Let's just see them. Thanks for joining.
Hey, I'm Benzi. I'm working at Mobileye, and we have a deployment of a very large scale Spark operator that we're using, and we want to contribute our code to the community and be a part of it. And, that's why I'm here.
It's great. Thank you, Messi. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chandravenigala. I'm new to this forum and I am here to contribute Spark community. That's why I'm here.
Thank you, Chanda. Nice to see you. Anyone else? Peter, Rikas, they want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm from Booz Allen. We've been using the operator for a lot of our Spark infrastructure changes over the years. So we're just interested in making sure it stays modern and keeps moving forward.
Thank you, Peter.
Hey guys, I'm Vikas. I'm based out of Australia and been using Spark Operator for about close to a year now, primarily on AWS.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I think we can get started. So again, feel free to update the agenda list. I don't know if Vara or Charan can join us today, because I think I have a few updates from my side that I want to share, and maybe we can discuss the things. So on the last call, we already published this on YouTube. So if you want to check the previous call, feel free to check this on our YouTube channel. It's called Kubeflow Community YouTube channel. We try to publish all this recording from the different community calls, because Kubeflow community is huge. We have multiple working groups, community calls, projects, and we try to publish all the recordings somewhere so people can take it, can just see it async. So this meeting will be held, I think, every month right now, and I hope like Var and Charon can drive them. But eventually we're planning to start with this, and then just to see if we need to have them, more regularly, maybe bi-weekly, and maybe we can find more people who can drive them. So a couple of updates that I want to share. First of all, we have a new Slack channel. So recently we're migrating to CNCF Slack channel. So this is a huge update for us because we've been maintaining the existing Slack channel for almost 7 years. So in this new Slack channel, all the history will preserve, and also we have an ability to create more channels. So I just encourage you to join the Kubeflow Spark Operator Slack channel, and feel free to add any of your questions or comments or anything else you want to discuss with the contributors. Any questions so far, like how to get in touch with the community? Maybe anything specific you want to ask? Right. So yeah, let me make a note here now. Google Docs. So called Kubeflow Spark Operator Slack channel. Yeah, also I'm happy to share we have a new reviewer in the Spark Operator, which is very exciting. So in the last 4 weeks, we saw a lot of PRs. So I saw for example, some unicorn support, some updates for for documentation, for unit testing, and some enhancement that we need to do. So I saw that Charon and Var actually promoted Yu Chen to the reviewers. So our goal is to encourage people to contribute, and eventually we kind of following the Kubernetes structure. So we have owners files, and we try to, if person actually contribute a lot, we try to promote him as a reviewer, and eventually this person will become the approver and maybe the part of the working group leaders. So eventually we try to appreciate your contribution and try to give you more control over the project when you've been there for a long time. So this is great. This is great to see the engagement of the community. And I think the next step for us is to onboard more people as reviewers and see more contribution from active companies who are using Spark Operator in production. Yeah, so before I jump to the release, to the planning, any questions maybe you want to discuss today on the poll? Maybe you can share how you use your Spark Operator today, Menzi or Damon, if you're planning to use it in production.
I can share. We are using our Spark Operator in production in a very large scale. We have up to thousands of apps running at once with more than 100,000 vCPUs, and we have made it production. But the only way we actually could make it production is by tweaking the code a little bit. So we have a PR ready for reviewing and discussing. As we see, it's not really community ready yet, but we do believe that the Spark Operator needs really boost in performance, and we think we can supply it.
Any specific links? Yeah. Hi, Charan. Thanks for joining.
Hi. Yeah, sorry I'm late. I guess I missed the early part of the conversation. Is this about the proposal to improve the performance?
Yeah, so we just started this call with there's some updates, and then Benzi just discussed like the performance, so improving Spark Operator performance. Yeah, go ahead, Benzi.
Yeah, I don't want to take the meeting to this direction, just want
course.
to introduce our usage and say what we have to contribute. But yeah, I didn't intend to take the meeting to this point. So go ahead and lead. And
Any specific PRs you want to share, or maybe any specific proposals that maybe Charan and Var
we have a PR. It's called I think its name is Performance Mega Boost. I think, and it's really saying what it is. I will find the number of it right away. And I can discuss the details if you want to go into it right now, but I don't know if this is the stage where this is what you want to take it right now. Let me know.
I have one beginner question. Being a beginner for this community, is there a how to pick up things quicker, to learn about the Spark Operator quicker? Is there a how to document or any document that I can share?
Yeah, there's a really, really good user guide under the docs folder in the repo.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. I will look at it.
Yeah, also we try to have a good first issues in the community. Like basically, if you check the good first issue, you will find some issue they can contribute. And I would suggest, as Peter said, to go through like the list of the contributor guides in the Spark Operator repo. Yeah, I think I found it. And so this PR was created in April, like 17th of April.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Charan, how do you want to drive it? Like, from my side, like I'm okay to discuss it, but do you want to discuss anything specifics from your side?
Well, not really, but I think that's a really interesting proposal. But before diving into that one, maybe let's see if anyone else has any other topics so that we can plan the time for this session. So does anyone else have any topics that they have in mind for today?
I did want to just say, I've talked to Var offline about whether or not we want to include history server in the operator distro, and the answer at that point was no, just because we keep seeing the question asked in Slack on a fairly regular basis. It might be worth putting up, do we want to add a rationale written up somewhere that is, here's why we do or don't want to support history directly with an operator, just as a public resource, rather than answering the question over and over again.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think previously I also commented on a GitHub issue about this topic. So my opinion is that, or at least in our production deployment model, we use one history server to manage multiple. Actually, it's tens of even close to 100 EKS clusters, Kubernetes clusters running with each Kubernetes cluster running its own Spark Operator deployment, and then all of those Spark applications are aggregated and put together in a single S3 bucket. And then one single history server instance shows the information about all those Spark applications. So in that case, it doesn't really make sense to deploy history server in a manner that's co-located with any of the Spark operator deployments. So I think, well, I guess there's scenarios that where we want to do that, but yeah, there's also in our case it doesn't make sense. The most important thing is that right now there's no community supported history server Helm chart that I'm aware of. So that's the main thing. I guess we can first have, if anyone is interested, or if there's already a chart that's readily available, but we just haven't found, we should get that chart ready. And then in the future, we can yeah, always decide whether that chart makes sense to be included in the operator repo.
Yeah, fully agree with all of that. And, you know, I think one of the big questions was if a chart were to be created or brought back to life or anything, would Spark Operator's repo be a good home for it?
Yeah, good question. Because strictly speaking, history server is not a part of the operator, because operator in Kubernetes language, that just means a controller to manage the life cycle of a CRD object. In this case, Spark applications. History server is more of a Spark ecosystem. It's not the operator per se. So yeah, I guess there's a point to be made that it doesn't belong in the operator repo, but rather something like a Spark ecosystem, Spark Kubernetes ecosystem repo, something like that. But yeah, that's just my take. But yeah, I guess once we have a production ready chart, we can discuss about that.
I really agree, and I would like to add that also you can have one Spark history servers for several operators. So maybe it's not wise to include them into one package.
Agreed.
And I agree with the same, that it needs to come from Apache Spark, not from us, because everybody has got a different use case. As sorry, I forgot the name of the person before me, Benzi was saying, that everyone has got their own mode of deployment. We are pretty much, because for us, the use cases that every team is segregated from each other based on the namespace. That's how we differentiate between different team. And so we deploy each one history server for each team. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure they can't see each other jobs for private security and privacy reasons.
Yeah, okay. So there's this question from Devin on how to add standard error and standard output links to exact page of history server. So yeah, in our case, we basically modified history server code to include a link with a separate column on the table. Yeah, I don't think it's available by default from open source, but it's not too much work. Just some HTML, yeah, magic.
All right, cool. Just curious. Thanks.
Okay, so I guess do we have any other topics before we go back to the performance improvement proposal?
This might actually be covered by the performance improvement proposal, but an observation we've made is that when you are specifying packages that need to be downloaded, especially say big things like the AWS SDK bundle, the operator deployment itself downloads those dependencies first before spinning up the actual Spark job. So let's say I specify some job that has 5 dependencies and they are listed as packages. IV on Spark submit on the operator. IV will try and download the all those dependencies locally, and then and only then will it actually enter a submitted state and running state. So that can lead to significant delays in jobs actually starting. The operator doesn't actually do anything with that. It just downloads them for the sake of downloading them.
Yeah. Also, all the zip files also. It doesn't actually need to download all of the stuff, but it does need to access to have a list of all the files that, let's say you're giving an S3 object to run as code, and a zip file or any object, it needs access to it. I'm not sure if it's a Spark thing or a Spark operator thing, but we did notice that as well. Yeah.
So okay, so just to make sure I understand the situation. So we're saying that initially the operator needs to get access to download all the dependencies before it launches the driver, and then later on, I guess the driver also needs to download things again.
Yes.
So that's okay. That's duplicate work. Okay, yeah, that's I think yeah, that's a good point. I haven't paid attention to whether that's impacting performance in our deployments, but yeah, that's probably the case, and that's not really needed. Mm.
Also, it's not just performance, it's also a matter of permissions. You have to give the Spark operator permissions to many stuff that it doesn't actually need to go to, at our environment at least, because it has to do at least a listing. I'm not sure because I didn't actually deep dive. Maybe Peter knows or when it does only listing and when does it actually download stuff. Maybe only jars are downloaded, but S3 files are only listed. So it needs access to things that it shouldn't really do. So not sure if it's a Spark thing because of Spark submit or it's a Spark operator thing.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that reminds me. I think it's most likely a Spark thing because the way operator works is that first it calls Spark submit in a cluster mode, and then the driver starts up, and then the driver calls Spark submit again, yeah, in client mode. So the fact that the Spark submit is invoked twice, that will cause dependencies to be fetched twice. But yeah, but that's a good point. Whether we can remove one of those copies. Uh, yeah, that's interesting. I haven't paid attention to that previously, but so what you're saying that Peter, I guess your observation was that the cost increased the startup time.
Yes, it does.
Mm.
One of the things that we've done internally to work around this is we actually, this is actually pretty terrible, but we create a persistent volume claim shared between operator and all of the drivers and all of the executors so that it only downloads it once and then it doesn't re-download. So basically everything is working off the same jars folder under the Spark installation, which is terrible, but it was the only way that we could come up with to alleviate that startup delay, especially with like, I think the AWS SDK bundle is like 400 megs or something, and on VPN connections, that takes its sweet time.
Mm. Yeah, it's yeah, that works, but the hacky.
Yeah.
Hmm. Is there a GitHub issue about this concern already?
I don't think so, but I can go make one.
Yeah, that would be great. And also maybe data points that you observed on how much how long the delay is that you observed.
Yeah. The delay is the download time.
Yeah, I don't really have a good solution off the top of my head right now, but yeah. Right. Yeah. Application startup time, that's critical, especially for interactive jobs like those from Jupyter. So yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Just
Okay.
like more, Sharon, can you just elaborate? So what is specifically an issue? So do you download the like the files twice in the executors, or like what's specifically happening?
So it's initially the Spark operator needs to download all the dependencies required by the application. That's the first time. So all the copies of all the dependencies need to be fetched from a remote location, let's say from S3. And then when the driver starts up, the driver needs to perform the same set of download actions yet again.
Yeah, I guess, but could it be solved with the shareable, like PVC across the one Spark application, like basically across executors and the driver?
Well, yeah, the thing that the initial download is performed by the operator, so the operator has to
okay.
have a shared volume. That's what Peter did.
Yeah.
That's yeah, it's a tight coupling between the management.
And
of
you don't use like a init container, right? Any sidecar in the driver to download these dependencies.
No, it's not done by the driver. It's a logic built in Spark Submit yeah, implementation.
I see. And you run like Spark Submit like via like this operator, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to open an issue about it and deep dive into the code and see what exactly happens there before we, right?
Yeah.
I will take the action of making the issue.
Great. Thanks. All right. So yeah, maybe we can spend some time on that. Yeah, performance improvement proposal, Mega Boost GitHub issue.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, Sean. Before we jump, like I just have two questions. Like, so the first one is about documentation. I know that recently we have a PR to update the docs. So do we know like if I guess like we created this, right? We generate this PR for updating the documentation. Do you think we can, like we can ask, we can do this in relatively soon to update the docs and put them somewhere? Because like I think we did be discussing if we want to put some docs on the kubeflow.org, right?
yeah.
About Spark Operator.
So
I'm just wondering in terms of the timeline. You don't have any connection. I mean, we can ask maybe him on the Slack channel or
yeah, so
something.
I can reach out to him privately as well, or
Okay.
public channel. So the conclusion is that we for the time being we don't want to move the documentation to the Kubeflow website.
I think like so from the user perspective, I mean it makes sense because like I mean I understand that probably you have like your own kind of docs, but like since we kind of like can simply point users to the Spark operator docs, we can just have a like component section what others are doing like model registry, training operator pipelines. We have a component for Spark operator, right? Where people just easily can read the docs. And I think eventually if like you want to like have your own website, we can think about it because right now all the components the way like we're storing them on this single website. So it
Okay.
would be easier for users to to search for the specific docs.
Yeah, sure. Let me reach out to him and
All
follow
right.
up when he can do that.
Andre, if you're planning to include a page on the main Kubeflow documentation website, do you want to consider modifying the architecture diagram as well to actually include it
Yes,
over
we want
there?
to include like the Spark operator for the architecture diagram as well. And I think the question is like when we're planning to do the release, right?
Yeah.
So we've been discussing before, right, Sharon? We want to like unify the version for Spark operator and Helm charts. I think you haven't got a chance to work on this, right?
No, right. Yeah, that's yeah, so what do people think? Do we want to have a one single version between the chart and the operator release? Previously, the operator has its own version number, and then the Helm chart has another version number. But we want to use one single version number for the package.
I think as there are not many contributors, it would be easier to have one version, but just my opinion.
Yeah.
So
Just to like verify my understanding, are we talking about aligning the version between the Docker image API and the Helm chart API?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because like I think like we've been discussing previously, they probably want to follow like Kubernetes release structure for Spark operators, so you can easily do the cherry pick, like you can do bug fixes and easily like basically we're planning to have like release branches and release tags, which means like you're gonna have like a release branch, for example, like 2.0, and then you're gonna have like a release 2.0.0, 2.0.2, like if you want to like add some bug fixes. So for this, like it would be easier, I guess, like for the Helm charts maintenance perspective to maintain the same version for the Helm chart as a Docker image, because users can quickly jump to the specific tag and get the Helm chart of that version within the Docker image, which also had the same version, right?
Yeah. No, it actually makes sense.
Yeah, we have an issue for this. We just don't have contributors who can, work on this. But if anyone have any strong objections, we can discuss it. But otherwise, we just need to find people who can work on this, right?
Yeah, so if you guys are for the unifying the version numbers, then maybe comment on that thread on that GitHub issue, so that if we have a sufficient number of people voting in favor of that approach, then I think that's the way to go.
Sorry, like discussion about like supporting multiple Spark versions. I think from my understanding, it is not necessary for you to maintain multiple Docker images, right? For different Spark version.
Yeah, at least for now. I think it just adds to the burden of maintaining too many images.
All right.
Maybe things will change in the future.
Yeah, I think like the question how to make it easier for users to just take this image, right? Which they want to use like for their production deployment.
I think anyway, people are maintaining their own Spark versions anyway. So the people are like our deployment, and I guess other people have their own Spark, and they're maintaining some kind of merging between the community stuff and the self managed stuff. So I guess the community just need to support some I don't have the word, but official version, and that's it. Not too many versions.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's it for me. Like you can move on to this discussion about the improvements, which are.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Benji, do you wanna give us a just a quick overview of the proposal? Some of us have already taken a look, but maybe you can give us a quick overview first.
Yeah, it's actually a major change in the code, so that's why we didn't want to push it without further discussion with the community. And we are not Golang experts. Our team is mainly using Python and Node.js, but as we are using a Spark operator extensively, we have reached the bottleneck very, very fast. I have shared in the chat a Google Doc detailing all the tests we did and the way we had before the testing, but just a general description would be that we found it very fast that in a large scale, the operating is not actually using its CPU and it's stuck all the time. So we thought something is really that doesn't make sense here, because if it's stuck, then it should use a lot of CPU. And we did some profiling, and we discovered that most of the time the operator is stuck in two types of mutexes. One is the mutex, the general mutex of the operator that all the tasks that the operator does are handled by one mutex that is keeping that all of the stuff are going in the order that the task were submitted. So if I'm submitting a task and then I'm deleting it or anything, so it would be in order. I wouldn't first delete it and then submit it. So there's a mutex to handle those kind of situations. But the mutex is for all of the apps at once. And when you're submitting a lot of stuff, then everything is stuck in this mutex. Also, when you're using operations on Kubernetes API, so there is one config used for all of the Kubernetes actions, and there was no type of configuration that changed the queries per second allowed for the Kubernetes API or the burst. So the default is like 5 queries per second and 10 at burst. So when you're doing a lot of stuff, then it's stuck there, and there's some kind of exponential backoff that happens when you're submitting a lot of stuff, then things get stuck. If people here submitted stuff in really large scale, then probably you saw that there was no status updates on Spark apps, and it took a long time to actually start applications. So what we've changed is we first of all, we did the mutex is now in our code is per application. There's a mutex per application and queue per application and the go routine per application that is handling all of these application tasks. And then you are making sure that nothing happens prematurely. But overall, each app has its own queue, its own go routine, and it's deleted after a while, either in the event of deletion or after a time that nothing happens. And the QPS is also a parameter, and the burst is also a parameter. So both of those things, when we change this, it's a lot of code. But after we change both of those things, we got to a situation where even a very large scale Spark application always started in like 5 seconds. The pod was created 5 seconds after the Spark application object was created. The average was 80 seconds in large scale before, and we even got to 20 minutes and stuff like this. So this is in general hard. It's a lot of details, so it's hard to grasp, but this is in general the idea.
Yeah, thank you. The numbers do sound quite impressive, but just I want to know about the when you talk about the large scale, how many applications are we talking about within a cluster?
We have reached up to 1,200, I think, at large scale running. It's also a matter of not just how many apps are currently running. It's also a matter of how close they are, like the batches. If you're running 50 apps at once or one after one, it's different. The way we tested it is we tested groups of 100 apps launched at once, like about the same time in a matter of seconds. And we got to 1,000 apps running like that in several minutes.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if that scale is good, but I'm not sure if that's high enough. Have you tried even higher number of applications, let's say concurrent submissions? So at the minimum, like 50,000 or even 10,000.
At once, no, because just the scale of the vCPUs we're using for our own applications we didn't need this many applications, so it wasn't our use case. But I think we are willing to test even more applications at once without a lot of vCPUs and see if it actually matters. But there is one thing that actually is interfering here is the usage of the Kubernetes API. At this scale, the amount of operations that the Spark operator does on Kubernetes API probably can cause you some kind of delays, and you will have to use a really large Kubernetes cluster for this to happen. So I think you might get to a situation where your bottleneck is Kubernetes API and that's actually Spark operator.
Yeah, good point. Exactly. I think that's what we oftentimes run into in production. APIs
Also, I heard last week meeting, and I think guys from Salesforce told in the meeting that they have removed all of the executors event in their production, and I understand why, because most of the actual Kubernetes API actions are performed for executor pods, which most likely for most people it wouldn't actually be needed. Mostly people will actually need just updates on the driver states, and Spark is then handling the executors on its own. It doesn't actually need all the updates on the executors. So it depends, I guess, but maybe that's also a good path to choose. Maybe it can increase the amount of applications that running to tens, thousands, and more.
Yeah, all good points. Executor events are not that valuable, especially when you have like hundreds or even 1,000 executors. And events are a common source of just creating lots of burden to API server. Yeah, okay, but coming back to your proposal, so because I haven't got a chance to try it out in our environment just yet, but the thing that I have a slight concern with the design to have one queue per application, because when there's too many applications, so as a number that I was proposing to test with, so with those many applications, there might be too many go routines, too many concurrent processing that's going on. And like, what's the memory profile that you observed with this
We
approach?
just actually we were concerned about this as well. So just for testing purposes, we've tried to run like 100,000 Go routines and 100,000 queues just for as a number as in a early stage, and it really don't affect too much on the system because it doesn't have a lot of like any blueprint or any how do you say it? I forgot the term. Any
So,
effect on the system yet. So
okay.
so I don't think it's a real concern. We've tried 100,000, which is quite a lot, and our production environment runs with 31 vCPU cores for the Spark operator, and we are using, even when we are stressing it a lot, we got to 50%, 60% vCPU usage. So and it's a lot, but it's a lot of processing and a lot of things happens, especially with all the executor things. But it doesn't, yeah.
That's more reassuring. But how about memory? How much memory do
Not
you?
much. Also, like less than what you will get for this amount of vCPU. If you're using even a very small ratio of memory to vCPU, we haven't had any issue. It was like 10% usage on a machine that have a ratio of 8 GB to 1 core, which is a lot, but still, I guess even in very small machines, it wouldn't really be an issue. And there is no memory leak over the time. We are also concerned about this. We're running for months now, and there's no memory leak.
I see. Okay, that's great to hear. Because from your draft PR, you included some numbers, but it would be great if you can include some let's say some graphs on how your experiments went. For example, with an increasing number of concurrent submissions, how the memory and CPU consumption changes. For example, from what you said, they don't change that much, and which is great. But if you can show the results, so that we can see that it doesn't change, it doesn't scale as much quickly as the number of applications.
I can add it to the Google Doc I shared, which showed the
Okay.
what we did. It's actually the Google Doc is focusing on how much time it takes to run Spark to start, but I can add a few graphs about the CPU and memory usage of the Spark operator itself also.
Yeah, that'll be great. Um,
We think that also many other issues can be solved this way because some other company mentioned on the last meeting that they had added finalizers, and I think the reason they needed it is because Spark operator didn't act fast enough, so they had to add finalizers. But I think when Spark operator acts fast enough as it is with our change, it doesn't actually need the finalizers. And also, I know that there was also a big change that someone proposed to replace the Spark submit with the JVM, with actually creating all the resource source in Golang, and they told it boosted their performance by a lot. I don't think it required as well if you're using the R path. And also replacing Spark submit with the Golang would mean that for each Spark improvement goes out, we will have to change Spark operator code, which is coupling, very hard coupling to maintain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, but overall speaking, this improvement sounds extremely promising, and yeah, I'll take a closer look at the code. But yeah,
It's not like community ready yet. We haven't, these tests are not exactly working, just some of it is working, and we didn't want to invest too much work in it before it's actually
Okay.
gets, so be ready for that, and we will be happy to add documentation as well if it would be accepted by the community. But just a review for the code itself would be great.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming up with all these details. I think we'll just need more information about the resource consumption profiling in your Google Doc, and then I'll have a look at the code. I think it should be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have added also some other stuff in it because it's like reflecting on production environment and some tweaks, other tweaks we've added. I can take them out to another PR, those improvement as well, if needed, because it's not actually the same proposal. So
Yeah.
whatever.
Great. Thank you. And I think we mentioned this last time in the last community call. We're always looking for additional maintainers and approvers, reviewers for the repo. As you guys contribute more and more, we'll be glad to accept you guys as the as reviewers. All right.
Sharon, quick one.
Yeah.
Do you want to detail out like a little bit of the give the overview of what is the process to become the approver or maintainer?
Yeah, so Andre can probably comment more on that. Kubeflow has a process for promoting a community member all the way from a just someone who looks at code and attends community meetings to approvers. But basically it's based on the rate of contributions that we see from that participant. So the more you participate in community meetings and in GitHub discussions, Slack discussions, and contribute code, obviously, then over time we'll be closely monitoring all those contributors. And when the time comes, I think when we think it's ready, then existing approvers will be talking about potential candidates, and then issue the invite to that person.
Yeah, I can add this. Like, we try to follow the Kubernetes best practices, and I can share the doc on our contributing website. It could be slightly outdated, but the structure looks quite the same. If you do, as Sharon said, like if you do some contribution, significant amount of contribution, we will add you to the reviewers, and then like for over time, we will add you to approvers. Also, like I guess for Spark Operator, it's not really the case, but we can add the approvers for subfolders. But from my understanding, right now you just have a controller and that's it. You don't have any UI or history server, right? Anything else? It's just a single component, right? As of today, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, it's just sitting as two components and like in a Docker image API and sorry, the document image way, and the other is the help chart way.
Makes sense.
Probably two components, I would say.
Yeah, because like for example, like from like complex projects, you can add the approvers for subfolders, right? Imagine like Kubernetes, there are like dozens of workloads, right? And like some people can maintain like few of them, right, and be the part of the reviewers. So yeah, I will share the doc in our community notes, so feel free to check this because and over time we can add you to the reviewers and then to other lists if you be active in the community. So, all right. Any other questions? We're almost over time.
Yeah, so
I
for
think
some reason, I think I messed up the invite. I thought that the this community call is next Friday. So I just want to make sure that we're I have the correct schedule. So the next one will be 14th of July, or
So let me see. So the next one is on the 12th of July, right? So
12th.
did you actually, you haven't subscribed on the calendar, right? Or on like the Kubeflow?
I think I do, but on my Apple Calendar app, somehow it doesn't show
Mm.
up there. Maybe it's on my Google thing.
Yeah, because
Yeah, one of the
Go ahead.
problems I've seen in general is if you don't, when you are adding it to a calendar, you don't add the time zone correction. It actually can mess it up, and that's why initially I missed out on a lot of the Kubeflow meetings in general, especially the community call.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you subscribe to the Kubeflow calendar, but I think we're using the one time zone for the meetings, so it should appear in your Google Calendar. If you
Yeah,
just
okay, I see. It's on my Google Calendar, but yeah, okay, not showing up on my
all right.
Mac Calendar app.
Yeah, just add the link to the meeting notes, like which Google group you should join to see these meetings.
Yeah.
The Kubeflow Discuss Google group, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Any last questions, comments? Sounds great. Thanks so much for your time then. Thank you. So see you in 4 weeks, and feel free to please use new Slack channel, and looking forward to all of your contributions. It was really great to speak with all of you. See you soon. See you everyone. See you.
So, guys.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone.